All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the FIT40 Podcast. First off, apologies. I know Fridays did not go out for some reason. I had one queued up, ready to go, and it just did not post. So, what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to treat it like every other time I've told you guys when you have a slip up, when something doesn't go right. What is the number one thing that you have to do? Get right back on the plan. Okay, just keep doing the damn thing and figure out what went wrong so that next time it doesn't happen again. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to lead by example and we'll figure it out and push forward. So, with that being said, here is Tuesday's podcast. We're going to be talking about Halloween snacking because this actually comes off the back of talking with one of my clients during our weekly check-in. She mentioned that she's really struggling with an issue with snacking on the Halloween treats. And this is actually a recurring thing that she's dealt with in previous years that usually sends her into a tailspin into really bad eating behaviors that result in putting on a lot of weight during the holidays and then feeling guilty come New Year's and all that. So I'm basically going to tell you guys what I told her so that everybody can be better off if you have an issue with Halloween snacking or just snacking around the holidays in general. All right. So, some common issues when we talk about this are one, candy in the office, because everybody has that one coworker that as soon as October 1st hits, they're like, oh my God, Halloween's almost here. Like, let's decorate. And with the decorations also comes the candy. And you're like, really, Janice? Really, Karen? Do we really need this right now? It's at the end of the month, not October 1st. Okay. There's candy at home. When we have like certain parties that we're going to have, like we have candy just sitting around all the time and it never gets eaten completely. So it just sits there and we're picking at it day after day after day. And when it comes to the kids' events, like when you go out for stuff, they always end up bringing candy back when they have parties. The parents of that kid that had the party never want the candy in their house, so they just push it onto you. And it's just this never-ending cycle of everybody having some kind of candy in the house. And then this leads to unwanted weight gain and some behaviors that are not conducive to an overall healthy lifestyle. Now, before we get into it, I just feel like I need to say this, and it's kind of sad that I do. Giving kids candy does not make you a bad parent, even though Instagram, Facebook, all these places with these super duper special perfect parents, all these places make you feel like an absolute piece of shit because God forbid, you give your kid one sweet treat. Okay. But in reality, giving kids a shit ton of food rules and creating unnecessary food fear and anxiety, that's bad parenting. All right. And if you want to get into the nitty gritty and actually like see what the research has to say, I put up one of my favorite studies on it in here, the PubMed ID, basically just saying the more rules you create, the more fear you create, the more anxiety saying, no, you can't have this because of this ingredient and that ingredient increases the chances for something like disordered eating patterns and possibly a full-blown eating disorder. Now, it's multifactorial. It's not the only thing, but it is one of the things that can lead to something like that. So just know that those people pushing that narrative that, oh, sugar's horrible, you're a terrible parent, they had it as kids and they're going to be completely fine because they haven't died yet from it. Okay. Unless you go crazy on it and that all of a sudden kickstarts having candy 24/7, 365, and you have a ton of sugar in your system, which leads to things like diabetes and all the stuff we know is not good for us, then yeah, then it's unhealthy. But in moderation, it's totally fine. Okay. The goal when it comes to kids and food should be educating them and empowering them to make decisions for the betterment of their health, not only physically, but mentally. And the key, like I said, is moderation. And if you don't know how to do it in moderation, then you got to learn. Otherwise, how are you going to teach them? Tip number one, we're going to go over two big tips when it comes to this snacking thing. Okay, the big number one tip is out of sight, out of mind. Just don't have it ever present at hand, at arm's length away, being able to get it whenever you want. Okay, your house is not a candy store. Only bring candy out on Halloween. So if you have candy on the counters, on the kitchen table, if you have it at the door ready to go for Thursday, even though it's only Tuesday right now, or Wednesday if you're listening to it later. Okay, don't keep it ready to go all the time because what ends up happening? You take one, just one, but it happens 5, 6 times a day. Okay. We don't want to fall into that trap because even though you say, oh, I'm just going to put it out so I don't forget, like it's not that big of a deal. It is that big of a deal because what ends up happening is our behavior as humans is affected. And when you have that behavior happening over and over and over again, it's not a matter of willpower. It's not a matter of you being a bad person or just like so lazy you can't be bothered. No, it's the fact that you are in a non conducive environment. Set up your environment for success most of the time. And then on Halloween, have it out. Not a big deal. It's one day. Who cares? One day will never ever mess you up completely as long as you get back on it the next day. Now, a whole week, on the other hand, not ideal. All right. And tip number two is create a nutritious barrier. So if you have everything out of sight, out of mind, take it to that next step and say, you know what? I'm not only going to put these out of sight, I'm also going to put healthy snacks and very nutritious foods in front of these. So that way, if you catch yourself going into the pantry or into the fridge and you're like, I really want that. Like, I feel like I'm hungry. And it's really just a craving out of boredom or something. This could be a really good catch because if you make the agreement with yourself and say, hey, if I don't have something from the front before I have something from the back, then that's no good. Okay. So you can have both. Just make sure you have a nutritious snack first and then have the sweet treat. And you might find that, hey, when you have that nutritious snack first, you're now no longer craving that sweet treat that you really wanted in the first place. So now you've had a much more nutritious option instead of something that would have probably left you hungrier and wanting more. So now you're going to be more satiated, more satisfied nutritionally, and feeling a whole lot better as well. Because everybody knows after you get to like, I mean, this was me, what, last night? After Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Thin number 6, you're just like, yeah, my body's not feeling good on this. Meanwhile, if you have a grape or an apple and stuff like that, you finish it and you're like, I actually feel good after this instead of feeling like crap the more that you eat. All right. So, like I said, use nutritious snacks that you actually enjoy. Don't just force the stuff that you know you should be eating, but you actually don't even really like it, because that's going to increase your chances of reaching right over it and going to the less nutritious options much more. So get stuff you actually enjoy. So if there's a yogurt that you like a Greek yogurt, and you want to throw some berries in there, and that's a really good snack that you actually really enjoy eating, have that. Or if there's a specific protein bar that you really, really like that's good on the protein, it's actually a protein bar. Like it has 20 grams of protein and it's around that 200 calorie mark. It's not 3, 4, or 500 calories and it's a glorified candy bar. Okay, if you have an actual protein bar that you really do enjoy and you could eat that instead, go for that. Put that in front and create that wall. Just make it a little less convenient. All right. And just a special note when it comes to this stuff, this is to help most of the time. It's not to say, oh, if you don't follow this to a T and be perfect with it, then you're horrible. You are so bad at this. No, it's just to, again, adjust human behavior to do what we want most of the time. Because if you do what you should be doing most of the time, you will get the results that you want. Now, if you're all or nothing and you're perfect for a day and then you go completely off the wagon for a week, that is way worse than if you slip up one day here and there and do really, really well for months on end. All right. Now, if you found this helpful, I know this was a really quick one. It was a quick hit, but this is a really powerful one for the holidays. If you found this helpful, my only ask is one, pay it forward and share with somebody that you know is struggling with this stuff as well. So hopefully they can implement these tips. And if you don't have anybody to send it to, or if you haven't already, be sure to follow the podcast. That way you don't miss another episode and you can keep getting the really good information that you need. So one of those two things would be greatly appreciated. And as a thank you, I've got the FIT40 family, okay, the Facebook group that is the best one by far on the entire internet. It is not toxic as hell. There's a bunch of women 40 plus who are trying to get their nutrition and their fitness back on track, just like you. So if you want to get in there and get a bunch of free resources and participate in the free monthly challenges, then highly recommend checking that out if you're not already in there. And last but not least, if you are hearing all this and you're like, this sounds awesome, but you need the accountability and you need the guidance to make sure it actually gets done because you've been struggling for weeks, months, maybe even years, hearing a lot of really good information and implementing and then not actually following through long enough to see the change that you want, go ahead and check it out. Okay. You and me can have a conversation, see if it's right for you. If it's not, no worries. It's totally fine. I'm not going to pressure you into signing up, but if you do want to sign up and it is for you, it could literally change your life. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all same time, same place tomorrow, making sure that we stay on track with everything. We're back in the groove. And yeah, I cannot wait for tomorrow's podcast. But until then, go kick some ass. I'll see you later.